Hi, I'm Dr. Brian Morsony. I'm a professor here in the physics department at Stanislaus State, and I'm an astronomer. So today I'm going to take you on a tour of our telescope facilities here on campus. So as we come up the elevator to the roof of Naragi Hall, that's where we have our big telescope dome, which I have open right now. If we take a look at the view from the roof, so this is looking north. You can see we have nice unobstructed views. To the east, you can actually see the Sierras on a clear day like this. And to the west, you can see all the way to the coastal range. Then as we go into the building, we're going to go through the door here. Come inside. You go up this rather steep staircase / ladder to get to the telescope. And you have to climb very carefully up these stairs. And then here is our telescope itself. So you can see it's on this big pier that goes all the way down through all 3 floors of Naragi. There's a coffee shop that's actually built into it at the basement, and then it goes all the way down into the foundations. So you have a nice stable platform to mount your telescope on. And then this is the telescope itself. So I'll go up the ladder in just a second and show you how it works. It's a 20-inch telescope, and it's inside of this nice big dome that can rotate, open and close the doors, so that we can look any direction, and we're above the roof line of the building, so we can really look at any part of the sky at any given time that we want. Okay, so I'm up the ladder now, showing the view out the window where the telescope's rotated at the moment. Here's the actual telescope. I'm standing pretty close to it. So how these telescope works is they work by reflecting light. So down at the bottom of the telescope here, we've got this big mirror that's 20 inches in diameter. You can see the reflection here. It's curved, so light comes in, it bounces off of that. Then it's going to go up. It hits this secondary mirror, so here we have another smaller mirror that's also curved. And then that sends light down this tube in the middle. And then the light goes through the telescope, it comes out a hole in that main mirror, and comes out the back to our eyepiece right here. And then through the eyepiece, you could see whatever the telescope's pointed at. And you have all the focusing equipment here, so you can adjust the focus. We have these big motors here to move the telescope, another one here to rotate it, and then controls here to manage that. So this is our main telescope for public observing, and also is big enough that you could do some research with it. Here's the little finder scope on the side of it. And we use this for our public nights, for school groups. Haven't been able to, though, of course, during the pandemic, so normally we'd be able to have people come see it in person, but we can't do that this year. Okay, so I'm going to leave this telescope now, close up the dome, and I'll take you out to see our other telescope that we use for looking at the sun. So as we're leaving the dome, you can see just how scary these stairs look, especially when you're going down them in the dark. So if you're used to it, you can go forwards. A lot of our visitors, though, end up going down the stairs backwards to get out of the dome. So our other telescope is in the north dome here, so just to the north of Naragi Hall. Here it is looking from the roof, just across this little pond. So here we are at the North Dome. The other direction, we can look back. Here's Naragi Hall and our big dome again. This area looks like it's been infested by geese pretty well. But let's go take a look at our solar telescope. So as we come in, you can see you have to go up this ladder to get to the telescopes. And then here is our solar telescope. So here we have our solar telescope, and there's really 2 telescopes here. So this big orange one, this is a 14-inch telescope, And it's enclosed, unlike the one up on the roof of Naragi, but it's the same idea. There's a mirror at the back, another mirror at the front, and then an eyepiece at the back end where you can observe. Since this one's set up to look at the sun, it's got a filter on front, which blocks out most of the light, and then just has this smaller window that is mostly reflective, so it only lets through a tiny little bit of light. So when you look through this one, you see the sun in white light, so the same light your eyes can see. If you've ever used eclipse glasses to look at the sun, it'd be a similar type of image, just magnified. But then our other telescope here on the side, it's much smaller. It's only, I think, a 4-inch telescope, 4 or 5 inches. But it's set up so that it only lets through one type of light. It has a really narrow filter. It's just letting through light that's coming from a hydrogen emission line on the sun that's in the red part of the spectrum. So when you look through it, you see a red image, but you can actually see a little bit deeper into the surface of the sun. So you can see granulation, you can see a pattern of the convection on the surface of the sun. So this one actually has a lot more interesting image because you can see that pattern all the time. With either of them, you can see sunspots, but you can see some of the pattern of motion around those spots. And those convective cells on the sun, they change on pretty short time scales. So if you watch for 5 or 10 minutes, you can see them moving. You can see that they've shifted position over that amount of time, even on something as big as the sun. So these are 2 main solar observing telescopes. They're set up on a mount here that's controlled by the computer over here. And once you find the sun, they'll track it and keep it lined up so you can, follow the sun all day if you want. Before Naragi was built, this 14-inch one here was the main kind of observing telescope to use at night. But now that we have the other one up on the roof of Naragi, we can just use this one for the sun and not have to worry about changing the setup when we go back and forth. Because you definitely don't want to look at the telescope, at the sun with the telescope, if you don't have one of these filters on the front. Either a specially designed telescope where it's a really narrow band image, or something that's going to block most of the light. Staring at the sun's bad at any time, but if you're doing it with a telescope, it'll set paper on fire on the back end. If you tried to look through it with an eyepiece with no filter, it would damage your eye immediately. You could go blind just looking through it for a second or less. So there's a joke that you can use a telescope to look at the sun twice, once for each eye. So don't do that at home, but if you have the chance to come to campus when it's open and use one of these telescopes, you get a nice look at the sun.